Annual General Meet and National Conference of the Vice Chancellors, organized by Association of Indian Universities and hosted by ICFI, Hyderabad. We are filled with a deep sense of gratitude and admiration for the incredible contributions made over the past 2.5 days. We have been fortunate to witness engaging discussions and thought-provoking insights from some of the finest minds. The theme of this meet is Higher Education at 2047, which has provided us with a platform to exchange ideas, network, and collaborate, fostering new partnerships and igniting fresh perspectives. It is clear that knowledge and connections we have gained here will drive us forward in our respective endeavors.
Now, we have among us Professor L.A. Ganesh, Vice Chancellor, ICFI Foundation of Higher Education, Hyderabad, on the stage. Now, I would like to invite Sri Upendra Tripathi, former IAS, first Director General of the International Solar Alliance, Professor G.D. Sharma, President AIU and Vice Chancellor USTM Meghalaya, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General AIU, Dr. S. Ramadevi Pani, Editor University News, Dr. Alok Mishra, Joint Secretary AIU, to come on stage for the valedictory session. Dr. Jayanti Ravi, IAS Secretary, ma'am will be, Auroville Foundation will be joining this session online. We would request Dr. Alok Mishra, Joint Secretary AIU, please come on the stage. So can we proceed towards valedictory session? Now, we would request Professor L.S. Ganesh, Vice Chancellor, ICFI Foundation of Higher Education, Hyderabad, to welcome all our dignitaries on the stage. Yeah. Sir will be welcoming first Sri Upendra Tripathi ji. Professor G.D. Sharma. Dr. Pankaj Mittal, ma'am. Dr. Alok Mishra, sir. Dr. S. Ramadevi Pani, ma'am. Dr. Jayanti Ravi, ma'am, we are welcoming you on the session virtually. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your gracious presence. Now, we would request Professor L.S. Ganesh, sir, to address the gathering of the dignitaries. Sir.
Namaste and good afternoon to all the participants. Mr. Tripathi ji, Professor Sharma, Professor Mittal, Alok, Rama, and dear fellow Vice Chancellors, and Srimati Jayanti. Nice to meet you again, Jayanti, after some time. Hi. I hope the 3 days or about 2.5 days that we have spent together would have, above all, helped us forge very strong institutional friendships among ourselves. In fact, one of the guidance points given in the recent new education policy, the national education policy, and also later underscored by the UGC, I had the opportunity for a brief conversation with the chairperson, and he mentioned that if charity begins at home, it's only fair that we forge intra-country institutional partnerships, perhaps as strongly as we can, concurrently with the inter-country institutional partnerships. And I'm sure this forum would have given us that opportunity, to begin thinking of shaking hands with each other institutionally. And there are so many ways in which we can work together. As we can all know, our imagination is our limit. So the less we imagine, the more our limit. And the more we imagine, the better we are. I'm indeed very honored to be with you today in the valedictory function. And I hope that you will carry with you very fond memories and a feeling of fulfillment at this stage of the conference. And if there are any matters by which we may have slipped in our hospitality, who will take the responsibility. I bow my head with all humility. Okay? And I hope all of you have been kept comfortable in your stay and your contributions here. Welcome you to this valedictory function, and we look forward to a great association in the times to come, institution to institution, in India, by India, for India, of India, with India, through India. Bharat Mata ki Jai. Thank you very much.
We would request all our guests to kindly remain seated. We now request Dr. S. Ramadevi Pani, Editor, University News, for the presentation of the report. Dr.
Good afternoon, the August gathering. Honorable President, Association of Indian Universities, Professor G.D. Sharma, Honorable Guest of Honor, Dr. Jayanti Ravi, Secretary Orville, Honorable Guest of Honor, Shri Upendra Tripathi, First Director General of International Solar Alliance Division and Advisor to CM Odisha, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General AIU, Dr. Alok Mishra, Joint Secretary AIU, and all the Vice Chancellors present here. With the permission of the chair, I am presenting the report, 3 days Vice Chancellors meet. We have conducted the 98th Annual General Meet and National Conference of Vice Chancellor 2024 on the theme Higher Education at 2047 during April 15 to 17, 2024. It was hosted by the ICFI Foundation for Higher Education, Hyderabad in blended mode. The chief guest of the inaugural function was Shri C.P. Radhakrishnan, Honorable Governor of Telangana, Honorable Governor of Jharkhand, and Honorable Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry. The distinguished guests on the dais included Professor L.S. Ganesh, Vice Chancellor, ICFI Foundation, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General AIU, Professor Vinay Kumar Pathak, Vice President AIU, and Professor Madhavi Garikaparthi, Associate Professor, ICFI Foundation, and of course our President, Professor G.D. Sharma, was there to preside over the session. The session began with ceremonial lighting of the lamp. Professor L.S. Ganesh, Vice Chancellor, Host University, delivered the welcome address. He motivated the session by adding quotes that emphasized on imagination rather than competence. He suggested that innovative ideas need to be applied in higher education for the benefit of society. Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General, in her address, talked about the theme of the conference, Higher Education at 2047, which was chosen specially to support Government of India and the nation to become Vikasit Bharat before it enters the centenary year, that is 2047. She said that this national conference is the culmination of 5 different zonal meets on the sub-themes of this main theme. And she hoped that the recommendations of these sessions will be helpful to the Government of India in its move towards Vikasit Bharat. Professor Vinay Kumar Pathak, Vice President AIU, spoke about National Education Policy 2020 and how it is the first step in achieving 2047 goal of India. Professor G.D. Sharma, President AIU and Vice Chancellor USTM Meghalaya, gave presidential address and mentioned that about different activities undertaken by AIU in sports, culture, and higher education, and various new initiatives taken up by AIU in the recent past. He highlighted that the utilization of artificial intelligence for language translation and integration of online education, particularly in the post-COVID era, which has created new opportunities, and we all should avail them. Professor T.G. Sitaram, Chairman AICT New Delhi and guest of honor of the inaugural session, delivered the AIU Foundation Day lecture. He brought to the limelight that India has accomplished several achievements in the field of research. He informed that India is ranked 3rd globally in producing PhDs, and he gave several such examples where India is achieving. He gave a roadmap for building a future of India. Shri C.P. Radhakrishnan, Honorable Chief Guest of the occasion, mentioned about Amrit Kal that will serve as roadmap for the next 25 years to make Vikasit Bharat. He emphasized the need for the skill development to build new India of 2047. The chief guest hoped that our nation would emerge as the world leader in the economy by 2047. There were 4 releases done during the inaugural function by Honorable Chief Guest. First was a book on edited volume on United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, realization of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals through higher education institutions, edited by Dr. Pankaj Mittal and Dr. S. Ramadevi Pani. A report on draft policy on blended learning prepared by Association of Indian Universities and SEMCA was released. The special issue of University News on Higher Education at 2047 was also released, and a handbook of Universities Handbook brought out by the Association of Indian University every year, which contains comprehensive information about Indian universities, was also released. The vote of thanks was delivered by Professor Madhavi Garkaparti, the nodal officer of this meet. We had interface session with heads of apex bodies, which was chaired by Vice President of Association of Indian Universities, Professor Vinay Pathak, and Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General AIU, co-chaired the session. The session featured 3 speakers: Professor Ganesh Kannabiran, Director NAC, Professor Rajiv Kumar, Member Secretary AICT, and Professor T.G. Sitaram, Chairman. AICT was also there in the session, and ICAR was represented by Dr. Seema Jaggi. The key recommendations of this session are the new initiatives undertaken by AICTE and the Vision for Higher Education at 2047, which emphasized research and innovation for digitizing skills along with international collaborations. Simplification process of AICTE, introduction of new courses, and improvement in ease of doing business. This session emphasized the importance of upgrading AI-related skills due to rapid technological advancements and highlighted India's rank as 3rd in globally in PhD production. The technical session on international interface with international delegates was also held, which emphasized on international collaborations and partnerships. This session was chaired by Mr. Colin Riordan, Secretary General and CEO, Commonwealth, Association of Commonwealth Universities. Ms. Sujana Mereddy, UCIF Regional Officer, Hyderabad. Mr. Kunal Saigar, Director, International Markets and Affairs, International University of Applied Sciences, Germany. Professor Bhola Thapa, Vice Chancellor, Kathmandu University, Professor Amia Bhaumik, Vice Chancellor, Lincoln University, Malaysia, Professor Karja Lasha, Director, German Center for Research and Innovation, Dr. Miss Laura Yan, Vice Secretary, Asian University Sports Federation, were the speakers in this session. This ACU was also represented by Aditya Malkani, along with the Secretary General, Mr. Colin Riordan. The key recommendation of this session was more international collaboration is required in enhancing academic strength and knowledge exchange programs between India and Germany and other countries, advocating short-term programs to expose foreign students to Indian education. It proposed utilizing technology to make education more accessible. The first technical session of the conference was on integrating Bharatiya knowledge system with higher education. The session was chaired by Professor Shanti Shri Dhulipudi Pandit. The speakers of the session were Professor Ganti Murthy, Professor Rani Sadasivamurthy, and Professor V. Ramanathan. Professor Ganti Murthy is the Government of India Officer for IKS. Professor Rani Sadasivamurthy is Vice Chancellor, Vedic University, Sanskrit, and Professor V. Ramanath is Professor at IIT Banaras. The key recommendations of this session were integration of Indian knowledge system through multidisciplinary research, focusing more on implementing NEP 2020 and incorporating Indian knowledge systems, languages, cultures, and values. Integration of Vedas with modern science to create innovative and cross-border culture. More emphasis to be given to importance of collaborative efforts for societal benefit, and advocating for multilingualism and learning more from ancient feminism. The second technical session of the conference was on nurturing research and innovation ecosystem, chaired by Professor Nilima Gupta, Vice Chancellor, Dr. Hari Singh Gaur, University Sagar. The session featured as speakers Professor B.G. Rao, Vice Chancellor, University of Hyderabad, Professor Raj Singh, Vice Chancellor, Jain University, Bangalore, Mr. Rahul Kursrestra, Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor, PSA to Government of India, and Dr. Shubhra Datta from Elsevier. Key recommendations of this session were to include systematic and intensified research and innovation should take place in Indian higher education institutions to come at par with international level. Manthan platform should encourage different activities so that research and innovation go hand in hand. Metrics of institutional performance should not be confined only to H-index. Backbenchers and slow learners also need to be brought into ambit of research and nurture them to help become creative. Industry, academic collaboration, and startup ecosystem needs to be strengthened for the students to grow in research and innovation. The third technical session was on digital transformation in higher education. It was chaired by Professor B.S. Murthy, Director, Indian Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. The session featured as speakers Professor Jagadish K. Patnaik, Vice Chancellor, Nagaland University, Dr. Bashir Ahmed Shadrak, Director, Commonwealth Media Communication Center, Mr. Raghav Gupta, Managing Director, Coursera. Key recommendations of this session were efforts should be made to bridge the digital divide by teaching new digital skills to teachers and students together. Students should know the meaningful use of technology for betterment of society in future, and focus should be on learning digital technology to strengthen academic excellence and drive employability. The session 4 was on globalization and internationalization. It was chaired by Professor S.P. Singh, Vice Chancellor, Assam Royal University, Guwahati. The speakers were Dr. Monica Kennedy from Australia, Miss Alison Barrett from British Council, Sri Anil P. Agrawal, Edify Online, and Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General, AIU. The key recommendation of the session were internationalization of higher education and collaboration need to be boosted, focus on mutual collaboration to diversify and widen access in future, encouraging international exposure will create opportunities. Students should be encouraged to use international certifications in various disciplines that have impact on social, cultural, and political. In this session, INHI, Indian Network for International Higher Education, created by the Association of Indian Universities, was also launched. INI is a structural platform to help universities to network globally. In that, we have international as well as Indian universities. The fifth technical session, which was today, it was on future of work and skill development. It was chaired by Dr. Nirmaljeet Singh Kalsi, Chairman of National Council for Vocational Education and Training, Government of India. The speakers include Professor Balwinder Shukla, Vice Chancellor, MET University, Noida, Professor Raj Nehru, Vice Chancellor, Sri Vishwakarma Skill University, Gurugram, Haryana, Professor Satya N. Gupta, Secretary General, ITU APT Foundation of India. In this session, there was a commencement of AIU VBox Skill India report, for which Mr. Praveen Dwivedi, Senior Vice President, was also there. The commencement was done by Honorable Chairperson of this session, Shri Dr. Nirmaljeet Singh Kalsi. The key recommendations of this session were skill shift requires reskilling, which requires investment of skills for digital transformation. Immediate change of skills according to industry requirement should be done. National credit framework that integrates learning and credits from school, education and experiential learning should be developed. The transferable skill sets should be developed in students. So this is in brief about what has happened in all these 3 days. And the report was written by the research scholar of this university, Ms. Priyanka and her group. I thank her. And I thank the audience and the august members on the dais for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
We would now request Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General, AIU, to kindly address the gathering of the dignitaries.
A very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the valedictory session. Professor G.D. Sharma, the Honorable President of AIU, Professor Upendra Tripathi, Professor Ganesh, the Vice Chancellor of ICFI University, Mrs. Jayanti Ravi, who is with us online, Dr. Ramadevi Pani and Dr. Alok Mishra from AIU, all the Vice Chancellors who have come from all over the country to attend this conference. A very good afternoon to you and a very warm welcome to the valedictory session. First of all, I would like to thank ICFI University, especially Professor Ganesh, the Vice Chancellor, and the coordinator, Dr. Professor Madhavi. I am not able to see her right now. The type of arrangements they have done, the way they have taken care of all of us, even the minutest details, personal care of each one of us, and the way the arrangements were made. I mean, it was a huge conference, so many delegates were there, and so many sessions were there, so many speakers were there. And when you talk of blended education, a lot of connectivity issues, internet issues, bandwidth issues are there. But everything was taken care of by ICFI University in the best possible manner. So thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Then I would also like to thank all the Vice Chancellor. I mean, very few occasions I have seen that till the valedictory session, the attendance is so large. So thanks to all of you for being there with us from beginning till end. And when we are together in this journey, we will definitely move ahead. And the theme of the conference, Higher Education at 2047, higher education will really emerge as the main component of Viksit Bharat or developed nation. So thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thanks to you. I will just talk about one takeaway from each session, which we had in these 5 days. Dr. Ramadevi Pani has already given you the details of every session, but only one takeaway from the point of action point, means what we should be implementing in our universities. So when we talk of Indian knowledge system, the main focus was that most of the universities are wanting to have an IKS cell, and then we keep on sort of saying everywhere that we have an IKS cell in our university, or I have a master's program in IKS. So the recommendation was clear that there is no point in having IKS as a separate unit in a university or as a separate cell or as a master's program. The effort should be made to integrate IKS in each and every course of the university, in each and every program of the university. So IKS should be treated as a minor, which is included in all these subjects, so that, I mean, it's not only a few students who are taking that particular program are acquainted with IKS, but all the students of the university are acquainted, because it is as a minor in every program of the university. And for that, especially the faculty has to be trained on how to teach an IKS course. IKS course is not something which anybody can teach. So faculty can teach, but with a proper training. So please invest in training your faculty on IKS, especially IKS relevant to their subject domain. For physics, it will be a different type of training. For chemistry, it will be different. For social sciences, it will be different. So how to train the faculty in IKS related domains? And if you feel it is important, we can be talking to the government, and AIU can be arranging such training sessions for the faculty in our AADCs, Academic and Administrative Development Centers. So that was the first. Also, one recommendation was also made that when you appoint teachers and when you see net, so if of course you have to see the subject net, I mean subject-wise net has to be completed, but sometimes the students are completing net in 2 areas, subject plus IKS. So if the students have completed net in IKS in addition to the subject-related net, please give preference to such teachers if we really want to integrate IKS in the teaching learning. In research, there were many recommendations. It was mentioned that if you talk of a research journey for an impactful research, so we move from data to information to knowledge to intelligence to wisdom to impact. So if we really want to have an impactful research, these 6 components are important. Dr. Sancheti told me these 6 components yesterday evening. So these are very important. And research intelligence, there was a presentation. A very good presentation was by Manthan. So this Principal Scientific Advisory Committee to the Prime Minister, so they have opened a portal called Manthan. So it is available at manthan.gov.in. So if you go to that portal, there will be many opportunities for the universities to seek government grants or to seek industry grants. So many industries have uploaded their opportunities on this portal. So please tell your faculty and you yourself go on this Manthan platform. It can be a game changer for the university. The way the opportunities are there, but many of our universities are not making use of those opportunities. Some are, but make maximum use of that possibility. Third was on digital transformation. And a very important statement was that generative AI will disrupt every occupation, especially educators. And it was mentioned that the impact on educators will be 3 times as compared to the impact on other sessions. So this is very important, that how we train our students so that they are digitally ready. And if, like, for example, if you talk of earlier, we used to have so many software developers going all over the world, but those software developers who are having only the minimal skill, they were employable till now, but in future they will not be employable because AI will be replacing them. So they have to have something more than the minimal skills to make them employable, and the responsibility for imparting those skills lies with the universities. So we have to help the students. And then it was also mentioned that when we talk of digital transformation, and if a university is digitally transformed, there will be 4 major benefits to the university. 1, it will sort of strengthen its academic excellence. 2nd, it will improve the student employability. 3rd, it will help them in ranking and brand perception. And 4th, it will also accelerate the revenue growth of the university. So revenue will also increase. The 4th session, internationalization. So there a very important thing was our own portal, which we have Our own means our own, not AIU's own. It is our own portal, Indian Network for International Higher Education. And in that portal, please go through that portal, please register, please log in. It is a free login for all the AIU member universities. And then you will see that how fast you can make the interest groups in which you will find another institution or another person with whom you can collaborate. It could be a national person or international person. But once we start using it, we will have such type of collaboration activities. And then another thing which was very, very important, Professor A.P. Agarwal would be here. We launched Edifi Online. Edifi Online again is a concept in which, because when you talk of international rankings and benchmarking and NAC rating, a lot is talked about the foreign faculty and foreign students who are present in the university. So for foreign students, AIU is doing now many education fairs, apart from having collaboration portals. But for foreign faculty, which was a major issue because cost is involved with that, foreign faculty is really very, very costly. So we came out with this novel idea that we can have foreign faculty on our campuses at a reduced cost by having the cluster of universities who are having a common course, so that that common course can be imparted collectively to a group of universities and the cost is reduced. And then having a foreign faculty, even if it is sort of a part-time because you are combining with many universities, it helps you in the rankings also. You can say that my university has this foreign faculty. It will benefit your teachers because they can benefit from the international faculty. So please go in for that Edifi Online if you're really keen to have foreign faculty in your universities. And you were also told about the schemes and the scholarships and the fellowships given by USIF, British Council, Australian High Commission during this session. So this is very, very important. And the last session, which was held today, which was on future of work and skills. Again, I also came to know for the first time that in our main academic programs, 50% of the programs can be skill programs. So again, that is very, very important. And how, it is the responsibility of the universities because the world of work is changing very fast. Rather, it is very, very uncertain. We don't even know what the future is. So we have to prepare our students on how to be prepared for that future of work. We were talking of gig economy. Many things were talked about in that session. But the major is that it is the responsibility of our universities to prepare the students in such a manner so that they can take care of the changing, ever-changing or fast-changing future of work. So that is something which is very, very important. So once again, I thank all the vice chancellors, ICFI, the president AIU, AIU team, ICFI team, who has been working on this conference since a long time and for making it successful. Thank you very much. All the best. Thanks a lot.
We are happy to have with us Sri Upendra Tripathi, former IAS, First Director General of the International Solar Alliance. Sri Upendra Tripathi, former IAS, is the Principal Advisor, Education to the Chief Minister, Government of Odisha. He is the advisor, come working president and chairman of the Executive Committee of Odisha Adarsha Vidyalaya. Formerly, he was the Director General, Medical Services in Indian Air Force. He was the Secretary to the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. He was the first and founding Director General of International Solar Alliance for the first treaty-based international organization headquartered in India. He had a successful tenure as Additional Director General of Armed Forces, Medical Services, New Delhi, and Major General Headquarters, Eastern Command, followed by Director General, AFMS, Ministry of Defense. We would request you, sir, to address the dignitaries.
Vice Chancellors from all over the country, friends in the dais, the Association of Indian Universities, ICFI community here. I'm really so impressed over the last 2 days. I have very few words to express that. valedictory function is a function that everybody looks for because after this we are all free. I must start, I was a student in a small university in Ottawa in Canada between 92 to 96, where the temperature used to go to minus 55 degrees during winter. We had a professor who used to teach us environmental diplomacy, Chancellors. And he started his entire semester with an anecdote, which is called 50-50 problem. So he gave the example of a country where people eat horse meat and chicken as well. So this professor goes downtown in that country and then he reads the name of the particular shop, which is written 50-50. So he goes inside and he asks this shop owner, what is this 50-50? He says, okay, I believe in innovation. It's a startup. I have a new type of meat. It's a mix of horse meat and chicken meat. And 50-50, so I call it 50-50. The professor was very happy. He bought a packet, 1 kilogram, went, cooked it, ate it, and there was no trace of chicken. A little angry, next day he goes back. He says, look, you told me it's 50-50, but there is no trace of chicken here. He said, no, sir, I never tell a lie. I took a full big horse and a full big chicken, and I thoroughly mixed it. Now, Saul Schwarz would say, this 50-50 problem is everywhere. And the biggest challenge for education, including in Carleton University, was how to address these 50-50 issues, because the way an Indian understands the same problem was different from a Chinese understanding, then from a Canadian's understanding. And Prof. Saul Schwarz from Israel. Now, even this topic, like, higher education in 2047, today, you as the academic community, you look at this problem from the perspective of curriculum, perspective of communication, articulation, which is desirable, which is how it should be. And, but I worked with prime ministers, I worked with chief ministers. Different people look at this, higher education in 2047 from different point of view. And this is a unique time. We are living in a time when we are witnessing the biggest biodiversity loss. In fact, we're in the middle of the 6th mass extinction. The world has undergone 5 times before. When oxygen appeared on Earth, 90% of life disappeared. You know why. And added to this mass extinction, the loss of biodiversity, we have a problem of pollution. Delhi, if you are there, I think it's equivalent to smoking some 10 cigarettes a day. It's not only air pollution, we're talking about water pollution, talking about soil pollution, talking about pollution all over, the ocean pollution, for example. And added to these 2 crises, you have the master crisis, and that you all know, global warming. In Orissa, for example, last month, we preponed the schools to 7 o'clock in the morning because the heat was so much. But then also students felt so hot after 11, we now prepone to 6:30 in the morning. Now think of 2047. Now, global warming and the issue of heat strokes, sunstrokes is only one small example. We are talking about inundation of several cities in the coastline. We are talking of disruption in agriculture. We are talking about disruption in the carbon storage capacity of soil. We are talking about disappearance of forests. We are talking about, disturbance in the pattern of monsoons, loss of biodiversity. In such a, critical period, how does higher education respond to these issues? Right now, we have a strategy we call strategies of mitigation, of adaptation, of loss and damage control. Now, how do we mitigate? Do we make a start saying that all institutions of higher education will be net zero by 2070, which the government of India has promised, or which is a need? And what does it mean to be net zero? And it is not only being net zero, how do we take other measures of mitigation? How do we adapt to these several disruptions that will happen in weather, in climate, in monsoon, in soil maintenance? How do we respond to all this? How do we prepare the students to respond to all this? Do we prepare a manpower in the society which can meet these needs? Singapore right now, in many places, they are doing research. If in the North Pole, the ice disappears, it'll cut down the traffic cost of transportation between Singapore and Canada and Russia a lot. They're working out how much is going to be less if the North Sea disappears. China, for example, is discovering day after day, inventing new type of ice breakers so that they can pass through that small track even with ice. And so if you look at the type of change in the skill set of people, and I was so happy to see the report in the morning, the areas they're covering are actually vast. So the point I'm trying to make is a big challenge. We're in the period of crisis, and by 2047, it is going to be much worse. Because if you look at the carbon budget of the Earth, no matter who took it away, whether it is in a sense of justice, if you look, the per capita coal consumption today in India is what was per capita coal consumption in USA 250 years back. But then I remember an honorable Prime Minister brought International Solar Alliance. We all inside thought, what is this crazy thing? Solar, everything is solar. And one day we asked him, why this? And he was frank enough to say that, look, the international diplomacy is such that at some point, suddenly, like Paris Agreement came in 2015, you may get an agreement banning fossil fuels. And then India should be prepared. But the most impressive research I found on solar was in Germany. We went to a German lab. They have put several, antennas where the solar light can be focused. And they focused it on a 1 foot long candle made up of iron. And this beam of solar light only took 2 minutes to melt it. And I asked them, what do you do it in Germany? No, they said, we are not making it for Germany, we're making for India. In the metallurgy sector, we use so much of heat, and we need very intense heat. And they were developing those technologies for India, not for Germany. But the point is that, by 2047, not only the challenges of land, manpower, capital, technology, they are going to be pretty demanding. And those technologies of mitigation, of adaptation, of loss and damage. So it's going to be a much more complex world in addition to the type of curriculum that we will develop, the type of skill sets we will give. And I'm very happy that these issues have been directly or indirectly hinted at. And I'm sure next year when Association of Indian Universities will be 100 years old, although it's 98, I didn't understand, frankly, because it should be 100, I think, or 99. It'll be a different thing, and I'm sure they must have already planned how to make it a mega event where all these challenges can be captured. And higher education in 2047, we can have a better picture, more comprehensive picture, a picture that will give a roadmap. When I would like to know American students coming to India and doing their masters, we may not charge $88,000 per year, but at least they'll come to our universities. Thank you.
Now, we are happy and honored to introduce Dr. Jayanti S. Ravi Ma'am, Secretary of the Auroville Foundation, Tamil Nadu. A scientist, civil servant, performing vocalist, administrator, thinker, and a widely traveled development practitioner, Dr. Jayanti Ravi entails myriad realms of experience in her multifaceted character. Her professional repertoire includes serving as DDO in Sabarkantha, Collector of Panchmahal, Director of NAC in the Prime Minister's Office, in addition to Principal Secretary and Commissioner, Rural Development, Gujarat. She has championed the Swachh Bharat Mission and rural sanitation in the state for 2 consecutive years. Under her leadership, with strategic intervention and innovative approaches, the SDG ranking of Gujarat on good health and well-being, that is goal number 3, as evaluated by Niti Aayog and the United Nations, has dramatically improved from the 17th rank nationally in 2018-19 to the first rank nationally in 2021. Ma'am, we are happy to have you, and we would like to request you to address the delegates. Thank you, ma'am.
Namaste to all of you. I hope I'm sure. I presume I'm audible. I'm extremely happy to be here at the valedictory session of all the honorable vice chancellors of the country. I'm very happy that the Association of Indian Universities has been doing this consecutively, and all the dignitaries on the dais, and all of you who are connected with education. It's a pleasure to get this opportunity to interact with you. And I would say that broadly, just as a few minutes ago, Upendra Tripathi ji spoke about his experiences. I want to start by saying that some years ago, when I was studying and doing my master's at Harvard University, we had a professor who would say that no matter what be your pedigree, but when you start teaching or when you start working in an organization, all that patina may be there for a few moments, for a few minutes. People may listen to you because you belong to this institution of higher education, you belong to this institute of national importance and so on. But beyond that, the patina wears away, and it's exactly the chemistry. What is it that you are able to offer to your students? What is it that you can actually create together? That is what can inspire them. And the same thing was also emphasized by another faculty member from a course on public narrative, who, and I have the privilege of mentioning it, paraphrasing it by saying that it's not the gloss which is so important, because a lot of universities spend a lot of time on various implements in the toolkit, but just as they are important, equally important is the human being within. The gloss is important, but so is the glow, so that we can withstand various challenges, ravages of time, and so on. So now, as we're all firmly saddled in this whole movement of towards the Amrit Kal, the 100 years of independent India as she emerges in the context of the new education policy, the far-reaching changes that have been brought about in governance, kind of global leadership that India is taking. And also in the same breath, if we look at all the conflicts that we see the world over, the crisis, when it is not that we have a problem of scarcity of food, energy, and so on, but it's also about the problem of human nature, where there are conflicts we're not able to, the intellect alone is not able to address these problems. I think the gist of what India would have to specially curate and create, if we were to have a special edge for dealing with the world, the crisis that the world offers in 2047, would have to be something different for really coming up to matching what is required of her as a Vishwa Guru. And in that context, I would think of 3 things that sum this up. One is an approach that really blurs the boundaries. We've had a lot of the slicing, dicing, silos. So if there is a way to have an approach overall that can really blur the boundaries and have a more synthesizing, harmonizing approach to different disciplines of knowledge. And yet, as you blur the boundaries, there's also an imperative, important need to deepen with diversity, the dimension of digital technology, all the tools that have at hand to really deepen, go deeper into rigor, approach it in different ways. And the third, which I think is extremely, is also using consciousness and really harness and harvest the essence of oneness. The key message that Indic knowledge systems also give because we talk of unity in diversity, but the other way of looking at it is in the diversity of the inherent unity that we see manifest in the way. The blurring of boundaries, our institutions, which is already happening, the NEP is a great beginner. It's giving a lot of context to really set the ball rolling in this direction. How is it that we create structures and mechanisms that will really help blur these boundaries with having more and more emphasis on multidisciplinary approaches where a student of physics can interact with a student of medicine, a student of art, and I heard in the question and answer session, what is the role of humanities, arts? I think all of these have a very important role. How can we bring them and provide these pathways of learning for students, be able to explore all of these and blur these boundaries? But in the same breath, how is it that we can also allow for flexibility, fortifying students and people with choices that not only lead them to the immediate getting or earning their degrees, the credits to earn a degree, but also really move them more and more towards becoming lifelong learners. And here, the PhD project that I had the special privilege of working on was something related to MOOCs. Back then, at a time when IIT Madras, so Professor LS Ganesh, when he was there as well, Professor Anand, and the entire team, there was something called NPTEL at that time, and which has now gotten transformed into Swayam, and now the MOOC platforms are something we're really looking at across the world. And then if we can really look at how is it that AI, ML can help us go deeper, and how these virtual classrooms, how is it that we can really offer customized courses for students from different backgrounds, digital libraries, personalized digital libraries for people to go back to. In the same breath, how do we allow for global collaboration? And as was mentioned, charity begins at home. And I would also like to take this opportunity. We too, Auroville may surprise, it may surprise all of you, many of you, that Auroville is also an institution of higher education. We are anchored under the Ministry of Higher Education in Delhi, and we actually are set up as by an act of parliament, and it was founded in 1968 by the spiritual collaborator of Sri Aurobindo, a great son of India, the mother. But later on in the 1980s, it was the government had to step in, and we have an act of parliament which Auroville Foundation is actually functioning today. And in that context, we would love to have students from different disciplines of all your universities come to Auroville as volunteers, as interns, and also as fellows. You can look at various aspects, research, innovation. There are so many possibilities. Skill development too, because in all about 700 units, activities ranging from making spirulina, which is a wonder food, a lot of you may have heard of it, to some of the best bakery and confectionery products that you would get maybe in the top European cities today, to being net positive. This is an entity. We have some amazing work that has happened also in the area of environment, sustainability, afforestation. We have done afforestation in places across the world, sometimes where the survival rate is more than 80%, as against a norm rate of 20% survival in many cases, and 80% being lost. But along with this, when we look at this blurring boundaries, inclusivity, diversity, all kinds of ethnicity, socioeconomic backgrounds, diversity, gender, equal opportunities for all become very important too in this new paradigm. And then, if you also look at the aspect of really diversity, digging deep and going deep into various things, how is it that we can bring about assessment, reforms in assessment, instead of having the conventional way of assessing? Can we have other ways which include such immersions, such possibilities of really which encourage and enable critical thinking, intuitive thinking, which is now going to be the main order of the day as we move forward. And finally, as we move more and more towards the 100th year of India's independence, the importance of also creating citizens, not just during the course of their sojourn in the academic institutions, but a lifelong journey of being conscious citizens from the environment point of view, from the human point of view, more humane individuals who can create and perform any task, any of these challenges, whether it's research, extension, training, or education, or co-locating even at the shop floors of industry. Can we have academic courses actually happening there? Not just faculty members going there, but can we have courses where an entire semester can be done in the shop floor of an industry? All these possibilities, but the conscious is something. So when we look at that, we also come to the contributions that Sri Aurobindo has made. And I would say that his whole emphasis was on synthesizing the researches and development on the material aspect, along with a journey inward of being more and more conscious about various things. And the two are not exclusive mutually. So it is possible to have something which is really founded on prosperity, abundance, and beauty, aesthetics, and yet be anchored in a state of consciousness. And if this approach can be inculcated in all our students, not just as an add-on, one particular course, but as Pankaj Mittalji mentioned, if these approaches, these attitudes can be inculcated in every discipline, it becomes a part of their nature. And this is something that world over today, we're also looking at consciousness studies. We have scientists, we have for example, Institute of Noetic Sciences, Dean Radin, several others working on this, and physicists are coming very close to what is the meaning of consciousness. And India could really play a very important role in this as well. So therefore, in summing up all of this, I would say if we can really inculcate in our students absolute academic rigor, excellence, critical thinking skills, all of it, but along with it, what is our own USP, the gift of India to the world, the possibility of really having this intuitive intelligence, which comes with that sense of faith, sincerity, and surrender. If that can also be incorporated in the studies, not as some add-on, but as an integral part of any of the disciplines of knowledge that our students pursue and adapt. So on that note, I want to again congratulate AIU, the ICFI team, and all of you for this very, very invigorating and very interesting academic discussion and intellectual feast, and with a lot of very practical aspects. It's not just about talking in the air, but then many practical inputs. I was listening to the earlier session. I'm very glad that you're all here. I want to wish you all the very best, and again extend a very warm welcome to all of you to come to Auroville, which is very close to Pondicherry, but technically located in Tamil Nadu. And we are also a part of the higher education institutions of India. We have people from 60 countries living here. And it is meant to be a beacon, a lighthouse for the world as it could be in the years to come. And so as we talk of higher education in 2047, what you see here, some aspects of it could by far be a bit of a harbinger, a taste of what things could be in the years to come. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you, ma'am. We would request now Professor G.D. Sharma, President AIU and Vice Chancellor, USTM Meghalaya, for the presidential address.
Thank you very much. And on this very important concluding session of AIU, we have Honorable Vice Chancellor of ICFI University, Professor Ganesh, and the host of the conference and meet, Professor Dr. Upendra Tripathi ji, the Principal Advisor to the Honorable Chief Minister Odisha and Director General, the first Director General. We have Secretary General, Madam Dr. Pankaj Mittalji, a very dynamic leader, a very dynamic Secretary General who has created vibrancy in the functioning of the AIU. a very active editor, Dr. Rama Pani, who has been always very, very active in academic, getting the journals coming in time, and Dr. Alok Mishra from our Joint Secretary, AIU, all highly respectable and honorable Vice Chancellors who have come here to contribute and also make AIU more rich through their knowledge and also giving support, encourage that how it can further be more productive. The industry people, the experts, both in physical and online mode. At the outset, I would like to thank the host, ICFI Hyderabad, especially Professor Ganesh and his team, to take this grand and very great moment of the process of learning, that the higher education at 2047, that how this vision could be achieved. For the first time, we are having vision of 4-7. Generally, we used to have the vision what next year we will do and what after 2 years, but this is the first time. So with this, our whole AIU team under the leadership of Dr. Pankaj Mittal and the Dr. Ganesh, the whole team, they have made it so successful, especially selecting the place. So till last moment, this is for the first time that we have so many honorable Vice Chancellors that they have become learners. Otherwise, they are leaders, still leaders, but less learners. Now we can see they are more learners. That is what it is required, that unlearn, learn and relearn. So that indicates that they are truly following NEP 2020, and what we feel now after listening to these presentations by the experts, that the education is also coming to fulfill the thoughts of our great leader, Mahatma Gandhi ji, who said in 1937 that the education of our country has to again revamp and come out with 3 H, the head, heart and hand. So now skill is reskilling, new skilling, all are becoming hand, because so far we were only giving more emphasis on head. But still the heart is missing, which will make the character of our children. And therefore, this also has to be incorporated. This national conference has fallen when 100th year has begun. That means in this year, centenary year of AIU, total pyramid has to change. Just a few minutes back, Dr. Kalsi said that we have to bring the social media into learning. Micro learning means not this one. Whereas our Indian traditional system of learning was based on mythology. Today we are going to nanoscience. Mythology also, deep observations, doing the experiments with nature and bringing out the conclusion. whereas the science also has the same critical observation, but experiments in lab, small area, then take it to the nature. This is the only difference. So that repetition is easier, and this repetition can bring the business. Whereas our only mythological approach was not for business, but for sustainability of humanity, bringing peace, and that is how the thoughts of Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Nirama, these thoughts were coming. Global citizenship, everyone same, all these thoughts were coming because the approach of our learning was toward the holistic one, peace, not the learning for creating business, not individualistic growth. Now we are seeing one person, richest person in the world. No. Which is the richest community in terms of learning, finding the truth? That was the approach. I am sure I will not take much time because all of our honorable vice chancellors, they have planned their visit to different places. But I really feel honored that last year you gave so many suggestions. We tried to incorporate and take some new initiatives in this national meeting and also the national conference. So many suggestions have come. This will make AIU to work, bring them, synthesize them, and to add to the new initiatives, as well as to further take those initiatives to bring our universities into new mode of fast delivery of the knowledge, involving the youths, making them more productive, converting the universities into giving opportunities to the youths to make use of their knowledge, as Dwivedi also said that the skill could be either with the industries or bring industries to the campus itself. So with this, I personally thank each one of you giving your so much precious time, all the 3 days here, and also making the AIU's approach more productive and more futuristic looking, to give more and more, both bringing the government policies as well as bringing the university system of our country, the largest system, taking it into playing important role, not only the third biggest economy, but one of the first or largest socio-economy of the world. Thank you very much. Namaskar to each one of you.
We would now request Dr. Alok Mishra, Joint Secretary, AIU, to deliver the vote of thanks.
आज के समापन समारोह में मंच पे साक्षात प्रोफेसर गणेश जी विद्यमान हैं। आपको बहुत बहुत नमस्कार, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और आप समझ सकते हैं कोई भी कार्यक्रम का प्रारंभ बिना भगवान गणेश की वंदना के नहीं होता है, तो ऐसे वंदनीय स्वयं हमारे साथ हैं और जिन्होंने इस पूरे कार्यक्रम में एक जो कहते हैं कि शुभता, शुभ लाभ और शुभ भारतीय दर्शन की बात हो रही थी, तो ऐसे आपके यहाँ इसका होने से ही मात्र से जो है इस पूरे कॉन्फ्रेंस की जो ऊंचाई है वो एक नए ऐतिहासिकता को जो है कहीं दर्ज कर रही है। आप महान कुलपति महोदय, वाइस चांसलर महोदय, आप दुनिया के उन महान लोगों में से हैं। दुनिया की करीब 700 जो है करोड़ जो पॉपुलेशन है, उसमें से हम अभी 25,000 सिर्फ वाइस चांसलर है पूरी दुनिया में। आप उनमें से वो महान लोग हैं जिनको ईश्वर ने आपको किस संस्थान को हेड करने का मौका दिया है। तो आपकी इस महानता और उस महानता में आपकी कर्तव्य निष्ठा के साथ आप यहाँ उपस्थित हैं, इस गरिमा के साथ आपको हम हृदय से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करते हैं। और हम ईश्वर से प्रार्थना करते हैं कि आपको यशस्वी और आपको बहुत अच्छा स्वास्थ्य और बहुत अच्छी मेधा दे, जिससे कि आप शिक्षा व्यवस्था के निर्माण में शिक्षा व्यवस्था को विश्व के लिए एक नई ऊंचाई और एक नए आयाम पे ले जाए। जहां आपकी उपस्थिति ने इस कार्यक्रम की शोभा को बढ़ाया है, वहीं पर 2047 में जब जिसके शिक्षा के इतिहास को देखा जाएगा तो इस समापन समारोह को इंगित किया जाएगा। ये सब रिकॉर्डेड हो रहा है इतिहास के पन्नों में जो है, तो आप उस इतिहास के पन्नों में आपकी उपस्थिति और आपने जिस रूप में आप सबने चर्चा किया तमाम विषयों पे जो है, उन चर्चा से ये पूरा हॉल झंकृत है और आपके लिए जोरदार तालियां बजाने के लिए उद्युक्त है। वो आपकी उपस्थिति, इस आपकी मंच की उपस्थिति जो है हमारे बीच में यहाँ उपस्थित इस पूरे कार्यक्रम की जो पूरी पीठिका जो है, आपको मालूम है कि आदरणीय हमारे जीडी शर्मा साहब जो भारतीय विद्यालय संघ के अध्यक्ष हैं, साथ साथ वो एक चिंतक भी हैं। लगातार आपकी जो हम लोगों को सेवाएं, हम मार्गदर्शन दूर रहते हुए हमेशा जो है तत्परता के साथ मिलता रहता। सर आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत प्रणाम आपको। आपने हमेशा हम लोगों को संबल दिया है और सर स्वयं हर जगह उपस्थित रहे हैं, हर कॉन्फ्रेंस में आपके और आपने इस शोभा को बनाए रखा है। हमारे साथ इस कार्यक्रम में बहुत से लोगों की सहभागिता रही है और हमने कहा कि इस कार्यक्रम की जो पूरी पीठिका है उसमें बनाने में हम मैडम आदरणीय महासचिव सेक्रेटरी जनरल महोदय मैडम पंकज मित्तल मैडम, आपको बहुत नमस्कार, बहुत धन्यवाद। आप राष्ट्र की शिक्षा व्यवस्था में लगातार करीब हम कहेंगे 3 से ज्यादा दशक से लगातार आप जो है इसमें लगे हुए हैं, तो आपने जिस दृढ़ता के साथ में इसको एक ऊंचाई दी है, हम सब उसके लिए बहुत आभारी हैं, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद हैं। और हम प्रार्थना करते हैं ईश्वर से कि आपके द्वारा देश में एक नई आगाज और एक नई व्यवस्था का जो है उस संचालन भी हो। हम साथ साथ यहाँ पर जहाँ पर इस मंच पर जो है उड़ीसा सरकार के जो मुख्यमंत्री वहां पे हैं, यशस्वी मुख्यमंत्री हैं, उनके एडवाइजर, आप सोच सकते हैं उनकी सलाह समिति में, और वहाँ की शिक्षा व्यवस्था और उसके इकोसिस्टम के सलाहकार के रूप में प्रोफेसर त्रिपाठी सर भाई हैं। सर आपको बहुत बहुत नमस्कार, बहुत धन्यवाद कि आप यहाँ उपस्थित हुए। ये मैं कुछ नाम यहाँ पर जो है इतना यहाँ के इस कार्यक्रम व्यवस्था में बहुत से लोगों की बहुत सारी जो है वो उनकी सहभागिता रही है। हम सभी को धन्यवाद करते हैं। साथ साथ में इस कार्यक्रम का जो ये कहूँगा कि यहाँ के जो बेसिकली चेयरपर्सन है मैडम, शायद मुझे लगता है मैडम उपस्थित यहाँ पर हैं, शोभा रानी यशस्वी मैडम आपको बहुत बहुत नमस्कार कि आपने इस कार्यक्रम को आपने अपने यहाँ होस्ट करने में अपनी पूरी सफलता दी है और आप यहाँ उपस्थित हैं। और आप कल्चर नाइट और विभिन्न कार्यक्रमों में भी आपको हमने देखा, और मैडम आकर के पीछे बैठती हैं। मैंने देखा कि कार्यक्रम को आपने स्वयं साक्षात देखा है। इस कार्यक्रम को जो है इस साथ साथ श्री शंकर जी जो यहाँ के अध्यक्ष हैं इक्फा के, उनको भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि वो इसकी कार्यक्रम की मेंटरिंग लगातार कर रहे हैं। प्रोफेसर जे महेंद्र रेड्डी साहब आप यहीं पर हैं। सर बहुत बहुत नमस्कार। आपने बहुत लंबे समय तक एडवाइस से सेवा की है और आप यहाँ पर एडवाइजर के रूप में हैं, और आपके यह जो है ऊर्जा और आपके द्वारा जो गाइडेंस है उससे यह कार्यक्रम ये रूप में आगे पहुंचा है। साथ साथ हम लोगों के बीच में जो इस कार्यक्रम की जो ये कहूँ कि यहाँ की जो नोडल ऑफिसर हैं, जो उसमें जो है प्रोफेसर माधवी गरिका पार्थी जी, प्रोफेसर माधवी यहाँ होंगे। मुझे लगता है कि उनके लिए वो जोरदार तालियां कि वो लगातार अकेली वन मैन सारे कार्यक्रम को वो लगातार वो संभालती रही हैं। प्रोफेसर माधवी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। हम हृदय से साथ साथ यहाँ पर जैसे कि इस पूरे समारोह में हम जो देख रहे हैं, तो तो हमने कहा हमारे पास एक पूरी टीम जो पीछे खड़ी है, माधवी के नेतृत्व में यहाँ पर कुशाग्र द्विवेदी, अंकिता मिश्रा, शाश्वत चक्रवर्ती, सत्यम चक्रवर्ती, प्रियंका, सुप्रियो, ब्रजेश, उत्कर्ष, ब्रह्मन, शिवानी, अंकुश, ये तमाम ऐसे नाम हैं जो मैं समय की सीमा है तो मैं उन सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूँ। अंकुश एंड श्रावणी और ये सभी लोग जो है मुझे लगता है आगे पीछे कहीं उपस्थित है और बहुत सारे ऐसे बच्चे हैं जो वॉलंटियर्स हैं, सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। यहाँ की जो मीडिया टीम है और यहाँ पर जो आईटी को संभाल रहे हैं और जो ये लगातार एक पैरों पे खड़े हुए जो यहाँ के फोटोग्राफर्स आप देखे पीछे, तो ये सारे लगातार इस पूरे कार्यक्रम की ऐतिहासिक रिकॉर्डिंग भी कर रहे हैं। तो आप सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि आप सबने अपनी पूरे समय और प्रदृढ़ता के साथ आप सबने यहाँ उपस्थिति है। हमारे साथ साथ हमारे बीच में जो है AIU ऑफिसर्स हमारे मैडम रमा पानी जी जो यूनिवर्सिटी हमारी जो न्यूज़ है उसके एडिटर हैं और साथ साथ पूरे इस कार्यक्रम में लगातार हम लोगों के बीच में जो है वो एकेडमिक रूप में पूरा उपस्थित रहती हैं, सारा मार्गदर्शन करती रहती हैं। मैडम बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका। साथ साथ विजेंद्र हमारे साथ बीच हैं जो लगातार आपसे कम्युनिकेशन में लगातार बन रहते होंगे। विजेंद्र जी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, विजेंद्र यहीं कहीं उपस्थित हैं, तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। साथ साथ हमारे पीछे पूरी टीम काम कर रही जो है, जो दिल्ली में बैठे पूरी टीम को देखती चीजों को, उनमें से हमारे स्पोर्ट डिवीजन में वहां पर डॉक्टर शेखो हैं, डॉक्टर बलजीत सिंह शेखो साहब वहां पर हैं हमारे साथ, वहां पर डॉक्टर कुलदीप डागर जी, डॉक्टर अमरेंद्र पानी जी और वहां पर हमारी जो है जो कहते हैं फाइनेंस डिवीजन को हमारे वहां पर रंजना परिहार जी और ऐसे संदीप कुमार, बहुत से लोग जो है पीछे वहां काम कर रहे हैं। मैडम की ऑफिस में वहां पर लगातार आप कम्युनिकेशन को संभालते, लगातार वहां पर जो है हमारे जो है अन्य जो साथी वहां पर हैं उन सबको भी धन्यवाद, क्योंकि सभी ऑनलाइन जुड़े हुए हैं। तो ये सारे जो लोग हैं उन सबकी जो है वो सहभागिता और सहयोग के द्वारा ये कार्यक्रम यहाँ तक पहुंचा है। हम ऐसी अपेक्षा भी करते हैं कि ये सहयोग लगातार बना रहे। ये भारत के नव निर्माण नहीं, ये शिक्षा व्यवस्था की एक नई पार्टी के निर्माण की चीज है। तो हम आप सबको एक बार पुनः बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद और हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करते हैं। नमस्कार।
Now, we would request Madam Shobharani Yashwashvi to please come forward. I would request Professor L.S. Ganesh sir, please come forward. Ma'am and sir will be jointly felicitating Sri Upendra Tripathi ji. Professor G.D. Sharma ji. Dr. Pankaj Mittal ma'am. Dr. Alok Mishra ji. Dr. S. Rama Devi Pani. I would like to request Mr. Vijendra Kumar sir, please come on the stage. Mr. Vijendra Kumar sir, please come on the stage. Madam and sir will be felicitating Mr. Vijendra Kumar, sir. Now, I would request Professor G.D. Sharma, sir, and Dr. Pankaj Mittal, ma'am, to kindly felicitate Sri Upendra Tripathi ji.
समापन समारोह इधर
May I please request Professor Madhavi Garikapathi to come on stage for a group picture.
मैंने थोड़ा बर्फ डाल दो
We express our heartfelt gratitude to all the dignitaries for their gracious presence at the 98th AIU Annual General Meet and National Conference of Vice Chancellors organized by the Association of Indian Universities and hosted by ICFI University, Hyderabad. We personally thank myself, Shantani,
Me, Shashwati,
each and everyone who put their shoulder to the wheel and made this event a grand success. Thank you, everyone. Wishing you all a very happy Ram Navami. Before we part, we would request everyone please stand for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
We shall now proceed towards lunch, which will be arranged in the central buffet area. I would request all the research scholars of ICFI Business School to please come forward for a group photo.
Recording stopped.
I would request all the team ICFI, please come forward for a group photo.